Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Monday, April 29th, 2024 public board meeting of the Kingston City Land Bank. My name is Mike. I serve as the executive director and moderator of this meeting. We ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. And with that, I turn it over to the board chair, Mr. Aaron Chilwich.
Hello, everybody, and thank you all for coming today. Let me scroll back up. Sorry, 1 second. And there we go. Let's do roll call today. So I'm Aaron, vice chair, interim board chair today.
Joanna Dorman, board member.
Ethel Knox, board member.
Rebecca Holderness, board member.
Project Starlight, board member.
All right, we are all here as anticipated. Next up is the prior meeting minutes as uploaded to YouTube. Do we have a motion to accept the prior meeting minutes uploaded to YouTube?
I'll move to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we are unanimous, accepted. Next is a vote to approve the meeting agenda as in our board packet, which is also available on our website. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion to accept the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? And we are unanimous, yes. All right, so for this week, I'll do an abbreviated comments based on what I talked about with Nate before we left and with Mike. Audit status, just thank you Stacy for all the work she's been doing. I think we're gonna have some updates later on. I think we're almost there. We'll find out more soon enough.
It's in review.
In review, there we go. In finance. Two other things that occurred this month. On the 23rd, Nate gave his annual report to the City of Kingston Common Council. So that was great. And then on the 2nd, earlier in the month, Nate and I appeared on the Family of Woodstock's radio show, which also went very well on Radio Kingston, and it was fun. And if anybody wants to go on the radio again, please do it. Otherwise, Hurley, in the past month, Hurley closed. Rogers is set to close tomorrow. And with that, all of Legacy Cities 1 will be done. In the board packet, now I'm forgetting what page, is what's called the payoff letter, which is from the Community Preservation Corporation, which is essentially closing out everything with our loan with CPC. And want to highlight that this is normally with these kinds of projects, as Mike and I were talking about, they often are over schedule and over budget, and we are on budget. And it was a 24-month construction schedule with 6 months extra added on, and we're done in 19 months. Half the developer fee went to Maeda, our new contractor, and $50,000 of extra money in the loan when the proceeds came back to the land bank as returned equity. So the land bank got some money back that we initially provided to the project. And then I guess in conversation with Mike, the state referred to the KCLB as a trusted resource, which I think means, Mike will say, whoa, what it means, but I think we're going to be their guinea pig for some potential new projects that are, should I not use that term? But exciting things also. It means that we will hopefully be able to get some projects done on a quicker timeline with everybody. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Owen. Thank you, Stacy, for everything you did to get Legacy Cities through to this point, which will be done tomorrow. Amazingly. And lastly, for Franklin, just a note that we have moved to a first alternate for that house. So they are almost in contract. Hopefully we'll be in contract tomorrow. And then that will commence a timeline of what, like another 60 days probably?
Say 90.
90 days. And then that will close that out, and hopefully within 90 days, then we will be done with both the pilot and Legacy Cities 1, and move on to future projects, which we'll talk about shortly. And with that, public comments. We have no members of the public here, and I hand it over to Mike for his report.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your kind words. Just to underscore completing the Legacy Cities program. These three people here, it's really important that we can do this and we can keep doing it. So thank you for saying that. Cool. Good evening, everyone. I will go into my boring updates on my boring spreadsheet and go through all the boring numbers. But just in essence, I will try to ask me if something I'm saying is nonsensical or I'm glossing over it, please. I feel like I tend to do that a lot, and that's just me. And just because I know it doesn't mean that it makes sense. That's what my wife tells me. So, okay. Our pipeline category is what I usually start with. The first off in that category is a resolution number 172, which is from 2018. The Common Council approved that. We've been obviously working our way through that list for quite some time. There is one sort of hanging Chad property, so I wouldn't want to let it go each month. Other than to say last month, there were two properties that we were looking at. The Common Council has elected to move forward with disposing of one of those properties, which we had no interest in. So we're down to one, and that one is 55 Rogers, which I will summarize here is still a challenge to get clarity on what the options are here. So I'll just say that. Sorry.
But I was gonna add just to say that the President 172 was this happened before my time even as well, but it was it allowed the land bank to have first right to, was it 36 properties, and a number of them had title issues, a number of them were not developable properties, and so the pilot homes were from that list.
Totally.
And they were kind of the developable homes from that list, and so a lot of them were not homes that made sense for land bank's pipeline, and which is why there's these hanging chads of ones that could potentially be for other reasons if we didn't take them to 2018.
Yeah, I think just to add to what you're saying, process of elimination, we've done almost everything we can with that list. One of the others that I'll talk about in a second is the acquisition of a property and demolish, doing our first demo. So that's the only thing that's really left maybe to do. And so I'll leave Rogers on this list. Maybe it can come up in ABC to take it off the list and then formally say to the city, we are rejecting this. I don't even know if that's necessary at this point. It just, to me.
I don't even know.
Oh, of course you don't. I'm sorry, Bartek. Let me bring you up to speed. In 20, no, everything Aaron said, plus maybe at ADC, we'll be talking about
Yeah.
or something. Understood. Thank you. Second category.
Just smile.
Yes. Apologize for that. I forgot who I was talking to. The second pathway for us to receive some pipeline properties is through resolution number 66 of 2023. And this is something that we could move forward with the purchase of 177 Murray Street, which is an incredibly dilapidated building. Internally, we debated, it's a single family home, you may know it.
It's the white one?
It's the white one, just barely there, and all sorts of additions, and empty for a long time. It's not structurally sound for the most part. Yeah, it's
lead with it.
totally. So that's the last property of a sort of in the category we don't quite know. However, what we had said a few months ago was that we would look into what the cost might be for demolition. And now that we feel like the financing is lining up to be able to conduct that demolition, including the ARPA contract that you approved last month, which the city was kind enough to add an additional $150,000 to try to demo. So I think that would be one that the board should consider authorizing an acquisition of. We're not ready to do that work yet, and I don't recommend that we buy a building and then it's totally, as you said, totally open and leaning and stuff until right when we're ready to commence with demo. So the current timeline that we're working on is to purchase in June and then start the demolition in July. Somewhere around then, I had talked to Owen about a 4th of July explosion demo. He was wisely not entertaining that notion, but that would be something that after the demolition, there are options for a new state program for building on vacant lots. So we would purchase it, demo it with other people's money, and then have the option to again use other people's money to build something. So more to come on that. The second one in the category of vacant properties would be 24 Belmont, which is a property that we have not purchased yet. It is, yeah, you know Belmont, it's over by Wiltwick Cemetery. It backs right up to Wiltwick. It's a big lot, but it has a house that sort of was burnt or dropped into itself and boats and a hodgepodge.
Oh, yeah, it's right by my house.
Okay, so if you know it, you know it, that would be a lot to clean up.
Mhm.
We're looking at different options for what to use various funding sources for, so that's always like, don't take it off the table until you're sure, I think. But that one also could be one where if the money lined up, it could be cleaned up by us, and then we'd have a vacant site to move forward with new construction. So 2 pieces of vacant land to consider, nothing brought to the board this month, like what to do, but just to keep it on.
Do you have to put a house there? Do we have to put a house there? You say something, it has,
I don't believe that the land bank would have to necessarily do anything there. It certainly is, it's a big lot, so somebody could put something there, but what else would you think?
no, I'm just wondering if that was the rule, if we buy that, if you have to build another house on top of it, build a house to sell it, that's what I was thinking.
No.
No, oh,
We've,
okay.
we've sold lots before,
Yeah, exactly,
so you
So
sell
right
it.
now, I knew, okay.
exactly.
Yeah, or it could theoretically be open space if there was a partner who wanted to take it and have it as open space.
In the back of it is actually pretty striking. There's a rock formation wall and like, it's an interesting space, so. To be continued on that one, and then also in the to be continued category is a new opportunity that Aaron had referenced that we're calling the Kingston Down Payment Assistance Program 2.0. So the city of Kingston has a down payment program. For context, the state of New York has just passed a budget, $50 million in new money for land banks, but that means that the state of New York's housing arm has to report on why they're not spending the last allocation of funding. So they're asking land banks to scramble and come up with creative ways to allocate funding. This is one that we would probably want to get some feedback from the state first, like propose to have a down payment assistance program that could buy down the price of market rate purchases and sell them immediately or quickly to affordable homeowners. It would be a way to get maybe 3 homes this year back onto the, well, they'd still be on the tax rolls, but they would be affordable homeowners, no cost to the land bank. Might be something to look into, but that's definitely a very evolving conversation. We were asked this morning to start submitting things, so it's kind of like, we were all talking at 9:30 this morning about what it could look like. It's to be continued on that, but there could be a pipeline of properties to come from that, so it could be exciting. Also, the city is still considering an alternative avenue to, based on code enforcement, to exploring a way in which that there might be additional properties that we could look into. No further progress on that to report at this meeting, but that's one avenue. The other one is the Article 11 process, which is if you don't pay your taxes, the city takes the property. That, of course, had been stalled stalled during the COVID. There was a moratorium, and then it was stalled after the Supreme Court ruling. And now the state has a final draft version of their budget, which includes provisions to allow municipalities to, if you do this, then you have to do that. If you do that, then you have to do this, and then you're doing it right. And that's what everyone was waiting for. So
This is to restart the normal foreclosure process, how the land bank got all of its properties today, all land banks in New York State got their properties.
totally.
And the Supreme Court decision ended, basically found the process by which New York and many 12 other states did their foreclosures was unconstitutional. So they had to reform the law. Okay.
We're hopeful, but it would take a while. So in either case of these ways that the city might take future properties, we would have to wait 2 years before we could get title insurance.
And that's called Article 11. And then Article 19 is Article does it way better than me, but it's the alternate process through abandonment, right? For the city to take possession of homes.
Properties that have been abandoned, most of which also haven't paid their taxes, but not necessarily.
Well, that's interesting.
So people pay taxes and abandon their houses?
There are,
Yes, yeah, there is, that's right.
there are
It was
cases
hot,
of
yeah.
that as well. I mean, most properties most that are abandoned haven't paid their taxes, but there are outliers for whatever reason.
What's the definition of abandonment?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
The state has a whole definition of it. It has to be certified abandoned by the local building department. And so the building department has to make a finding of abandonment, and they have various criteria based on their building code checklists.
Like how long, is it, do they have to give notice to whoever's like the owner is kind of thing? Yeah.
And it's a rabbit hole, but there's squatting, there are rules about squatters and stuff.
Yeah, there's actually a whole provision about if there's squatters in abandoned property. And the state says you can still, if they're not paying rent to the owner, you can still go.
You can still go forward.
Do those, sorry, not to go off on this, do the squatters have rights?
No,
They do.
Unless they're paying rent.
unless they're paying rent. That's squatters if they're paying rent.
Totally.
Exactly.
They're
They're
tenants.
renter. Things that have says respect for renters.
Not cash.
Maybe I had no lights, no one running anywhere.
That's, and they wouldn't be the only renter in Kingston who doesn't have.
That's correct.
That's correct. Hopefully, we don't run into any of that. And we don't get involved in any properties that are difficult to navigate like that. The last thing I will report on the pipeline is that the National Community Stabilization Trust, for which we are the trusted partner, sole Ulster County member, has offered us 0 properties this month. So.
And zero profit.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to put it. No problems.
No properties and no profit.
I'll write that down.
We're gonna zero sum.
It's gonna come out of nowhere one day. They're gonna offer us like 7 properties.
All of which are impossible,
All
but
of it.
necessary.
Exactly.
Totally. Well,
We
just,
won't have the funds.
yeah.
Excited about getting everything.
Crazy
The,
time.
part of the reason to at least in your mind to sort of like envision what this could look like, if they offer us anything, we have 24 hours to respond. And so it's this like, nothing's happening, hurry up and wait, but no problems, as you say, but it could be a whole bunch of questions very quickly. And so just, I'll keep it on the list.
That emergency meeting.
I hope it never has to happen. I really do. Okay, pre-development category, we have 9 properties, no change from last month. Those are 6 in legacy cities, 2, which we'll have some updates at ADC for the group, including the general contracting bid, which Owen will take us through an executive session and make some recommendations. Third Avenue, I would say that there are no updates current for this meeting, but Kyle and I are excited to bring to ADC next month, a sort of executive session. I think you had asked for this quite some time ago, Rebecca, but we were waiting to have the final piece of the most recent puzzle to say, here's the history of it, and sort of, here's how we got here. If anyone's interested and wants to go to that meeting, and if the ADC chair is fine with it, it might be an opportunity for people to go through it. It's more of a way to do like an open Q&A, like here's how we got here. We've just been waiting to get from February to today, and then go into ADC and just gathering that. The last piece of information has to come. Teller and Hanratty are the last 2 properties in our pre-development pipeline. These are both vacant lots that we own and that we purchased from the city of Kingston. Those will most likely be something that we look at under that new HCR program called CrossMod, because everyone has to have an acronym. I can send around the link to the CrossMod program, but in essence, it's another way to build on vacant lots using the state's money and the state's communications say that they will pay for all of the expenses. So that sounds like a promising start. That I hate to do the air quotes.
Including acquisition costs of new properties.
I just always scare when anyone says, we're gonna pay all your costs. Are you? Especially if it's the state of New York.
Totally. It remains to be seen, and I think to Aaron's point about being a trusted partner and resource, it's also the guinea pig that can be moved into considering some of
Be
this.
the best guinea pig ever.
Innovators and explorers.
Exactly. That's a better way to put it.
Next down to property sales. I think Aaron walked through this with us, but Rogers will close tomorrow, most likely. No reason to believe it won't. So Rogers closing tomorrow. You'll get another silly email from me. I don't know why I like sending those emails, but I really. Thank you. But it's a good way to, at least for me, to feel like it's over. So, well, in the sense that they can't go on for forever and things are happening even tonight. And like this morning, we were talking about final utility bill, and that took place all day back and forth. So it's fine. I think it's all going to be okay. But the closing will start at 1 p.m. So I might send a later email than usual because it usually takes several hours.
Julia called me this evening to just make sure the wire instructions. were-
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
think it's gonna happen.
our attorneys are always on it. I've never questioned that they're on it. It's the other 100 people that show up. But it's been a group effort to get to closing. So we are using funding from the state of New York. We're using funding from the city of Kingston's CDBG down payment assistance program. So that will come into closing tomorrow. Those are the major funding sources, including the state of New York's Legacy Cities Access Program. So,
What is the assistance for down payments typically?
it's $50,000 is the maximum for this program through the
So
state.
they're covering Okay, and then what about closing costs and stuff?
Closing cost is called the down payment assistance loan through the state of New York mortgage agency, and that essentially covers the closing costs, title.
All closing costs. And
Sometimes the
legal fees?
purchaser, I'm sorry,
And legal fees.
a lot of times it covers most of it. The purchaser can't walk out, it used to be the rule that the purchaser could walk out with a check. So if they went over, the state of New York would cut a check, and the thinking was that then you could buy furniture, or you could buy, they've stopped that policy, so it has to equal zero. And so sometimes purchasers come out of pocket because things change at the last minute, there's a few $1,000s. Yeah, I mean, it happens at every closing, but we try to get it as close to zero as possible, so it'd be close. Moving on to potential new funding opportunities. So we have some updates on Legacy Cities 2. I think Kyle, I think I put in the section of the ADC reporting, maybe to talk about the financing. So you know the numbers, we've been living on Zoom like forever, the past several days going through it. So some updates at ADC on that, and some updates. I will just say a little more about the down payment assistance program, because we hadn't figured out what bucket that might fit in. So we're going to ask the state of New York for $575,000, for which we could kind of use it as what I would consider to be a recycling fund. So you would buy a property, a market rate property, single family home. You would then sell the property. Pat Stone of Newburgh has told us that they have 10 purchasers who are pre-qualified and ready to purchase at 80% AMI or below. So they would rapidly purchase the house. We wouldn't do anything to the house other than own the house for a minute. And then we would take the proceeds and go back out and buy another house. And so it's a sinking fund, so the balance slowly goes down. We think we can do 3. So
It's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
it's cool.
And this kind of thing that I've never heard of the state doing something like that, where they will give you money and essentially like with no strings attached, buy a market rate home and like sell it for a loss, essentially, and then the money recycles back to buy the next home, which is just, I mean, it's.
I don't think it's been done before.
This is the down payment assistance fund?
We have to call it the down payment assistance fund. That was recommended that we refer to it as that rather than anything else in terms of how it's structured and how it looks to the state.
So the buyer buys the house at a discount?
Totally. So,
Right, that, just understanding.
yeah, it's really, it's exciting.
It's like the KCLB buys it for 3. On a Monday, the KCLB buys it for 300,000, and on Tuesday, the KCLB sells it for 200,000. And then takes that 200,000, puts it back into the fund, and buys another home for 300,000, and it's the next day sells it for 200. It's like that, and so the money slowly dwindles down to zero. But it's essentially selling homes more affordably with, yeah.
Just to clients of the bank.
I'm gonna have to make a picture. Is that all
The
right?
Newburgh Land, or the Newburgh, sorry, Pat Stone has some
That's
clients.
that's what I mean, so it's just to pass stone.
I don't think that we should do marketing around it or anything. 'Cause we-
No, of course, I
Fairly
just
quick.
like.
It's Pastor has clients in the city of Kingston?
I'm sorry,
In the city of Kingston?
I think that they have clients in the city of Kingston.
Okay.
We haven't reviewed kind of what.
Yeah, I'm just curious what the like criteria are to become, is it just the mission of
The mortgage.
Yeah.
And my hope with this is that it's a pilot, but we ended a pilot, so let's start a pilot. So this is the like, oh, you have $50 million next year. Here's something we're doing this year. If you like it, maybe we can keep doing it, and we can
Right.
expand out the qualifications, and maybe the advertising, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
It could be super exciting.
but we wouldn't
I mean, I
be
wondered if
doing
you
anything
dropped
to the
it.
homes, it would just be a way of, it's like a conversion rate or something. It's like really
Kind of an interesting idea.
It's like you go in and you
So
come
has
out.
anyone else tried this before? Or is this?
Because you're still.
Not that I'm aware of. And it may not be approved.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just
Well, everyone.
I'll take responsibility if it doesn't work, throwing it at the wall.
Yeah.
And if it comes back,
Like,
like, you guys are crazy, then we tried. It's very cool.
Housing complex.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
When did you become aware of this?
We came up with it last week.
You came up.
I think it was last week. I think it was Thursday.
You came up with this idea, what?
Mike's been joking about it for like a year, like joking about it, like.
I've been bringing it up to a major foundation that provides us funding for like 4 years as like a, hey,
Yeah.
prices keep going up. And why don't we stop that and immediately convert that? So that never got traction. So this would be a way. My other footnote is like, it's potentially a huge fundraising opportunity for everyone, for all of us to say, we have this fund that directly shows results very quickly. I hope it works. I mean, otherwise we have other things we can do. So slightly less exciting, the Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund, which was a $150 million grant that the state of New York had put out just for this region to provide infrastructure work and incentivize or produce commercial new construction development in the Hudson Valley. The first round of funding, I've been reporting, has not been awarded. It still has not been awarded, so no one knows what you have to do to win. So there's that. The submission website, Kyle got the first email because he's working on the submission. It was ready to go on the 26th. And then Kyle got an email that says it's been extended again to June. And we're taking our website down for maintenance tonight to change the dates. And then they put their website back up because we're going to apply. And the website is, you cannot submit. So we are now the tech support for the state of New York on why their website can't work to submit all these millions of dollars that everyone must be doing. And so that's not as exciting as the down payment assistance program, but it is, it's an update. We will, as soon as the website allows us to submit, we are ready to submit. We have support letters from everyone. We're ready. We think it's a strong application. We will try. But these things sometimes come and go, so like one give and one take. So in the give side, the state of New York has announced its retooling of what's called its home program, which is direct use of federal funding for affordable homeownership rehabs. 4 homes and less, I think, is the qualification. It's a total $10 million program. The presentation on it is tomorrow at 11, I think, Kyle? I think it's at 11. Yeah. So if anyone's interested, email, I can send you the link for a webinar. If you're interested, we can also summarize for everyone. The applications are on a rolling basis and they are open until they're out of money until the end of October. I don't know exactly what we could use that on yet because we don't have 4 rehabs that we're considering waiting around for, but it's good to know about the program. If anything else comes to us, we have new projects that we could rehab. That's good. Ulster County Housing Action Fund, which is a $15 million total planned program using some new money that the county generated through an increase in occupancy tax on hotels by increasing it from 2% to 4%. So that goes into this pot. The first round for this year is $3 million. It is due on May 10th. I feel like we have a strong application for the 3rd Avenue project and not for the rehabs because the rehabs need to get going construction much faster than it takes a legislature and a county executive to agree on awards. So that will maybe be our final application, but it feels like every month we have new funding applications and the state has passed the budgets. There's all sorts of new opportunities. In other things that Kyle has worked diligently to close out in the funding category, we have applied to Senator Schumer, Senator Gillibrand for funding, which is great to get that out the door. We were all set. We've been working for months to apply to Congressman Ryan's pot of the same money. He's obviously on the House. And so his representatives came to our ribbon cutting, you may remember. And so they were engaged and they were looking forward to letting us know when the application round opened. The application round opened on Friday. The application was announced was due on Monday, today. And then a few hours later, it was announced that the House Republicans had excluded nonprofits for the first time from applying, which is 70% of the awardees historically. So something happened on Friday. We can't apply for his money. We lost, but we'll keep going. There's other opportunities. There's $50 million in the land bank budget. In my other category, just wanted to second the thank you to Stacy, which I made last month and probably at other board meetings that I'm sure you've been watching. Thank you very much for getting the audit in this state that it's in this time of year. We're months ahead of schedule and light years ahead of organizations. Thank you very much. Other than that, I will just say that I will be sending just a housekeeping item. I sent around an updated passcode for our Zoom meetings because we had to change that. I realized that the link was the old link. I thought that they would update. So I'll be updating all of those calendar invites again. I'm really sorry. You'll see it in your inbox. It'll be like 40 updates. Just hit accept. And then you'll always be able to get into the meetings. That's it. Thank you very much. That's my report.
Yeah, I didn't understand the whole process, sorry.
So I'll send something out tomorrow morning.
Okay, I thought maybe I should have understood, so I thought I was.
No. I barely understood it myself.
I didn't know if I had to write down the SIM code and, memorize it and then eat the paper.
I mean, you could, I don't know.
All right, so ADC, and then I'll pass it along. I might reorder this, it was the agenda just to do just so we don't do Legacy Cities 1, 2, then 1, 2 again, I'll just. So I think let's talk about Legacy Cities 1 first, closing out, and then move on to Legacy Cities 2, and then Third Avenue. So, Kyle, on the agenda is final summary on Legacy Cities 1. Is there anything you want to say? Who are you mad at? Who gets credit? Anything at all?
It's a team effort. Mike will be shy and put all the congratulations on the rest of us, but really Mike helped carry this through from the start. So congrats to him there. But yeah, Aaron, you covered most of the major updates here. We closed on 169 Hurley last month, planning to close 29 Rogers tomorrow. The last home in Legacy Cities project, and finishing well ahead of schedule, about $50,000 under budget. So yeah, congrats to the whole team on getting through this, and this sets us up well to proceed with Legacy Cities 2. Some more updates on that in a minute.
Thank you again for everything you all do.
Yeah.
Everything you've done to get this point. Next up is Legacy Cities 2 general contracting bids. And for this, we would like to discuss, because they're potentially sensitive, multiple bids, we'd like to discuss it in executive session. So could I, motion to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive session.
All in favor? And we are back available to the public, and so we would like to call a vote to authorize Mike to enter into contracts as aforementioned during executive session. The amounts discussed.
Second.
So yeah, motion, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
We have a unanimous vote. Mike, you are authorized. And with that, we did Legacy Cities Finance, we did Legacy Cities Contractor, Third Avenue. Is there anything on Third Avenue, Kyle and Mike, for today, next month?
I don't think so, unless.
No,
other than
Mike,
what I
it
said.
hits updates. Yeah, we'll be
Good.
giving an overview at the next ADC meeting.
Good.
Welcome to join.
Then maybe just because you said you were going to spend the next ADC going over it in depth, let's just, if you don't mind, can we just circulate the invitation to the whole board, and anybody who wants can join?
Yep.
For that meeting, because I think
What is
it's
it?
great. Well, the next ADC meeting, let me look at my calendar, is
May 17th.
May 17th at 3:30 PM. Great. And with that, I hand it over to our illustrious head of finance and audit.
We talked a lot about money so far. We talked about a lot, and I think that it would be easy to become redundant. These are the, so I would just say these are the highlights as outlined by our meeting. So have some papers, somewhere to write your grocery list later, if you want. And so for tonight, I would say that they were in a period of completion and preparation. That's what we're doing right now, is we're finishing and getting going on new projects, right? And we're remaining online with plans and budgets, not budgets. I'm sorry, there's missing a letter. So you can look at the bullet points, radon system, Franklin is completed, expenditures, etc. I highlighted what I think is important really to know on a general way is that we're always in line with the budget. Expenses are in line with the budget, right? So we continue to complete the work on time, under budget, as outlined. The way that funds move through the organization is dance-like and a little baroque because of how things are. Different kinds of funding are allocated to us, and also we allocate them to other people. How the rhythm of those things, as well as expenses that are either in 12 months or whatever. So there's plenty of paperwork in your board packet should you want to really follow that down. to a granular level. But I would think from a general board perspective, if the books balance and the houses are built and sold appropriately, then we're doing what we need to be doing. So I'm not going to go through these because we've also discussed all of these projects quite a bit already. I asked for Mike to reiterate the ARPA contract issues, or not really issues, but however you want to call it, things to remember. And I just think it's good for us as a board to remind ourselves that ARPA has some very particular things. Now, that may be true of other grants, I just am not as familiar with them. So this feels new to me, and it's a lot of money, and it's going to require some Baroque cash management. So I think the finance committee just wants to make sure that that we support all of the staff of the land bank on being able to manage what is essentially a sort of, it's a lot of, whatever that is you do with balls. What is that? Juggling. There's the word. I don't think I already know that word. Juggling. So I just put this here so you guys would have it in front of you, so that we just remember that the term, to me, ARPA is yay, only it's a reimbursable grant and it's a short-term grant, right? So it's going to require attention to detail. That's what I would say. Does that make sense, Stacey? So that's really all I have to report, is that we're going good and we're on the budgets, the budgets are going good. And that we should keep an eye on ARPA as we go into it to make sure that we have money. And I appreciate your saying and asking that before we sign contracts with general contractors, that we have enough money in hand, right? Because money that is out of hand, that's connected to any kind of other organization, is out of our control. And we're in a fairly volatile market, as well as a volatile political environment. So I think we just want to not be optimistic all the time. That's just my experience in the world, would be saying, just keeping an eye on what could slip out of focus because something changes in either the financial market or real estate market or the political world. So yay that we have enough money so we can get started. And congratulations again, always, for the excellent teamwork. So I would say that I would like to congratulate in particular what seems to be a fairly joyful team, working together well, doing a good job, and also not actually losing your wig when things happen. And it seems to me that things happen pretty frequently at closings, that mistakes happen that change everything in a heartbeat.
Yes.
So I think your ability to remain committed and joyful are assets to the Kingston City Land Bank. So thank you. And that's my report, and I'm sticking to it.
So do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? All right, we have a motion and seconded. All in favor, accepting the treasurer's report? Unanimous. Wonderful. Rebecca. Next, communications, community engagement, and fundraising.
We did meet. We discussed the social media RFP, and we agreed that we're not proceeding with either of the two submissions that we received. Rebecca had volunteered to perhaps look at the RFP again, consider the responses.
I will bring a report to the next meeting.
Yes.
Is that soon enough?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm a little busy.
So that does mean that we are doing social media internally for the foreseeable future, which you are okay with.
Yeah, and Nate has taken some of it as well, because I'm terrible at social media, and so we're trying to be a little more.
Person.
No, I mean, I don't do social media for myself, so like I am, but Nate is doing some as well, and I think we're gonna try to keep it.
We need a teenager.
Totally fine. Yeah.
Someone have a teenage child. Yeah.
Want to respond to
Um,
our.
Mike, don't think I responded to your email, but I do think we need to respond to the respondents
I think we should.
and just say that have decided to not proceed
Decided to not proceed
at this time.
at this time.
Yes,
That's what I actually-
and thank you so
That's
much.
what I wrote down. I didn't thank you for that.
So much.
Can we also, is it appropriate to say, but we will keep your
Absolutely.
proposals on file?
Got it.
So if we want to go back, tomorrow and say, oh, guess what, here it come again. That's right.
Okay, thank you for that.
We have been discussing some potential transitional uses at Third Avenue. We did do some outreach to the O Positive folks to see if they'd be interested as a venue space. We heard from them, but then didn't hear from them. Rebecca, you might reach out again. I also reached out to the Artport people as well.
Artport,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Just, put it on the radar. But again, we don't have a specific plan at this time.
I have a question for us to raise, and maybe we can do this in committee if we don't want to do it now. And that, given some of the correspondence that we've had about Third Avenue from the public, that maybe we don't need to do anything. I know this seems an odd comment from me in particular, but maybe doing something on Third Avenue to consider just sort of as an objective question, whether we want to do anything on Third Avenue other than, whatever. I don't know if there's any cleanup that needs to be done or any maintenance or any signage that needs to go up or something like that. But I think, and I suspect until we're prepared to be very upfront about what's gonna happen on Third Avenue, we don't wanna be dancing on it, on the property. That's not something I would have said before, but it does have to do with some of the responses that we've gotten, and I think we might wanna be err in the direction of discretion. So that would be my suggestion. We could either talk about that now, or we could talk about it in the committee.
Just curious, where are the responses going? Like, where have you received these responses? Have you been sent to all of us? Or going directly to an account?
From some of the comms meetings, we reached out to specific individuals. So there were responses from that outreach, and then also just general inquiry responses that we received.
Where are these people reaching out to, is my
Like
question?
to the info email,
Okay, so that's,
Facebook.
yeah, that's, I'm curious.
Also, I think this has to do a little bit with my experience at the land trust. I think there's something to be said for being very concrete about what it is that we do
Not a will to.
what we don't do, right? So that we don't get confused, or we don't confuse the public.
We are confused.
Huh?
They are confused. It comes
They're
all
simply
our
confused.
documents, all names. So there is a confusion. I don't know how we got in front of that.
I mean, I feel like there's even a level of confusion. The organization, both organizations, So, I mean, as clear as we are, there still is like this ambiguity around some things.
Yes.
Especially for our buying lands.
Exactly, or donating land,
Right.
so I think it's a deeper question, but yeah.
I mean, I would support us having an event that at a different kind of venue, it's not a venue that we're gonna do anything with. Like, I'm still like Keegan Nails or the Kingston, whatever that coffee place is. Camp Kingston, is that it? Something like that? Anyway,
It's,
you
we do both.
Yeah.
It represents
know, across the street from each other. With a series with like a slideshow of before and afters of the houses and a little bit about the history of land banks and, just kind of put it out there and do a small presentation in invite people to sign up for the newsletter and give them an opportunity to invest if they want to, or whatever, contribute money. And then we can invite all of the contractors as well. It could be a celebration of the contractor contracts maybe. So we can invite those organizations as well. I would love to meet them. That would be really fun. And that would also be promotion for them and their businesses. And that doesn't, that kind of event would help maybe with this confusion without us getting involved in using any property that we have for the purpose that it's not intended for. Yeah, this is new wisdom as a board member of one day. So anyway, that is something I would propose we could talk about in the committee and bring back.
We talked about some post-Harley celebration stuff, and we did get two great news articles as well. Nice. With local press. And then, yeah, we talked about our potential next engagement event, which Rebecca just previewed. Mixer, happy hour at a local place. Details to be decided, and venue to be decided.
And date.
And date. But the concept is there, it's on point, and I think we all agree it's good.
Yeah, the summer's coming, so.
Buy a doorknob, buy a drawer pull.
And that's all for us.
Thank you, Bartek.
Thank you.
I move to accept the report from comments.
Accepted by definition. And with that, governance did not meet.
Well, just.
Okay, please.
The post for we're continuing our search for board members, and the post for Instagram has been pinned now. So if you feel so inclined, you can share that in your story, like that we're looking for board members. Before it was kind of like you couldn't really find it, but now you can just click on that and share it as a general post, as a story, which I would recommend, and then yeah, they can get some links. So just try to make it easier for you. Nate did that the other day. Please distribute.
Thank you.
I
Design.
think you'll have to teach us how.
I'll show you how. It's very easy.
I don't know if anybody else was thinking of that, but I'm
Well,
just
I
not.
will show you
I'm
how.
not
I mean, I asked
social
Nate
media
to make
person.
it a permanent story, and he pinned it as a post, so I was like, okay, I'll take what I can get. And I was like, Nate, he's like, yeah, I did it. I'm like, well, not quite.
I don't know what the permanent story is.
That would be-
Oh,
There we
it's
go.
the exact, it's that little circle.
Yeah,
There you go.
But I don't know how to get that.
Yeah, I don't know how to do
Yeah,
that.
no,
I just stateless.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
no.
And then just for design, we're not meeting particularly,
I'm sorry.
but we are communicating through email. And so our next thing is to kind of reach out to architects that have either sent RFPs or just local architects and start to build relationships. Nate wrote up a form letter for us to start distributing. And then just also to say that I got the chance to walk through two properties, Chapel and Gill with Owen last week. It was very extensive. I got to look at all the design documents and construction documents, and it was really informative and a really great experience. So I'm grateful to Owen for taking the time to do that, even though he's not here anymore. I said at the time, but it's really valuable to see these properties in this state, and I just know the next 2 years to get to watch that unfold is going to be remarkable.
Maybe less than 2 years.
Yeah, exactly, but. And then just also that, as far as the design team, we've taken the 6 houses that are gonna be under construction, and we've allocated them to each member of the design team. So we would appoint people for change orders and things for those properties.
I have a question. So on one of my too many committees about housing that I work on, John Olson, who's an engineer, is very enthusiastic about modular construction. And it looks to me like we're gonna do some construction down the road. So I wondered if it would be appropriate if at some point, whenever we could have a kind of, John and I could prepare a little presentation about, we're gonna go visit the factory, and there's an interesting conversation about, well, it's complicated, but I would like to propose bringing a presentation about modular construction and also other kinds of construction, or other ideas about construction that we might want to be, not just like education, really just education. And I know John would be very enthusiastic about that. He's having a baby today, so he's gonna have some time on his hands between, and no sleep probably, but if that would be interesting for you guys, we could do that. Is that appropriate?
Who is John? I'm sorry.
John Olson is a engineer. He's on the Kingston Housing Task Force, and he's a big project manager for like SEBA, I think, or something like
I
that.
just met him, I biked with him the other day, I just met him.
Are you in his bike team?
No, but we have on a group ride, and I was like, John Olson, that name was very familiar, and so I didn't.
He's forming a big bike team for Kingston. So if you're a biker, you can do that.
Well, he's not gonna go do that anymore.
He doesn't know that yet. But anyway, he's very enthusiastic and he's very informed, and so he's a sort of neutral. So he and I together could put something together that would be like a resource, if that seems appropriate, Mike.
Seems
That's
great.
really what I'm asking.
And it might be something too that the design committee is looking, right, with different architects and engineers and construction technologies. I think it would benefit all of us to learn more about this as much as we can.
There's a very interesting conversation with the planning board
Mhm.
dude. I can't remember his name. Because one of the things that would be really helpful to Kingston was, or might be helpful, given the zoning reform and all the other things, is that if there was a modular developer in Kingston, like who was constructing modular pieces, a business, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? And that there's probably a fair amount of money to bring a business like that into the I-Park or whatever, into that, take some space, right? Because and so that, I just thought would be an interesting conversation for you guys to know about, like, where is the cost benefit analysis in modular? What are the problems with it as we understand it? What might it bring to the Kingston world as a business? So, and like I said, John's very enthusiastic about it, and he's very knowledgeable, even though he's sort of whatever, but he's an engineer, but it's not me, right? So he brings an engineer's expertise to the conversation. Don't you think,
Sounds good.
so that's helpful? I mean, I can't see you over your computer, so
Yes.
like,
I'm trying to figure out if I met him before. He looks familiar. I thought he was a famous skier. Okay.
So that's design, public comments, no members of the public are here, any new business tonight? And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion second, all in favor,
hi.
and we are adjourned, thank you all.